Where the hell have you been? Do you know what time it is? Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, kiddo.
Hey, Pony, where you been?
I fell asleep in the lot.
You what?
I was talking to Johnny and I fell asleep in the lot. I didn't mean to.
Yeah? Hey, and I can't even call the cops because you two would be thrown in a boys' home so fast it would make your head spin.
Come on, Pony, let's go to bed now.
Look, I said I didn't mean to.
I didn't mean to. I forgot. That's all I ever hear from you.
Come on, Derek.
You shut up. I'm sick and tired of you sticking up for him. You hear me?
Don't you yell at him!
Boy, I didn't mean to.
Hello. I'm Katie, and welcome to Retromade, your pop culture rewind. Let's continue the exploration of the best of the 80s and 90s with our Everyman, Patrick Swayze. This time, we're going to be traveling back to March of 1983 for the coming-of-age crime drama with an incredible ensemble cast of up-and-coming stars, The Outsiders. And as a special treat, today, I am joined by Kyle Pederson, who I'm lucky enough to spend every other Sunday morning with co-hosting the Rocky Series podcast called One More Round. Kyle, thank you so much for joining me on Retromade.
Thank you for having me. And I dare say this seems a little more polished than the Rocky Series podcast. I think you run a pretty tight ship over here.
I try.
Hopefully Ryan didn't
Thank
hear
you.
that, but
I know he's a consummate professional, and he's just an old pro at it. Plus, we've seen Rocky a gazillion times, so there's no prep work needs to be done, really, on our side anyway. Brian does all the work. I think we'll start by opening the time capsule from March of 1983. Kyle, were you even born yet?
no, I was born in March of 1984.
Oh.
So I wasn't even conceived quite yet. That was 3 months before I was conceived, roughly.
Well, I guess I would be a toddler. I was over, yeah.
You'd be
I'm
about
like,
2. You're
yeah.
my sister's age. Like, I have an older sister.
Yeah.
Because you graduated in 99, I'm guessing?
Yes, I was
Yeah.
August of 81. So it was like a
Oh,
year and a half.
My sister's
I
August
was a year and a
81.
half.
Yeah, she's August 3rd.
Really? August 8th?
Whoa. Yeah, pretty close.
Like August, us Leos, yeah, it's a whole thing. Since you weren't born yet, but you did have an older sister, and I'm assuming you watched some of this. Some of this might be familiar to you, like in syndication or just being alive in the world.
Oh, sure. Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you think about, say, like, you're born and then your earliest memories, or you're maybe 4 or 5 years old, something like that. So my earliest memories would be, I can remember when I was 3, actually.
Hmm?
So 87. But you think, like, how much has changed in 4 years? Not a ton. So that'd be like us remembering 2019. The world doesn't look, other than, say, the obvious event that happened in 2020, the actual look of the world and the way people talked or dressed and stuff isn't substantially different. So a lot of things seem kind of familiar, even though the movie's obviously not set in the 80s.
Correct. And that is one of the things, we'll get into that. But to that point, I think that is one of the things that helps a movie not seem dated, is if it's like a period piece of sorts.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah.
And I like the levels of detail. Like, for example, you see prices in certain areas, the price of gas, or there's the scene in the grocery store and it has like the price of bacon and stuff. And I'm a nerd. I'm looking it up on my phone. So like the price of gas, for example, is like 39 cents a gallon, but that'd be about $3.50 today from 1966.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, someone did the math,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
I like,
this was a pro. It was
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola, which we'll get into, but he knew a thing or two about movie making.
exactly.
Yeah. But before we get into The Outsiders, we want to set that stage because it came out in March of 1983. Now, you'll have to pipe in these if your parents talked about these, or if you're aware of any of these or watched them in syndication. But according to Nielsen ratings, the top shows were Dallas, MASH, and this was actually MASH's final season, 83, Magnum PI, Dynasty, Three's Company. Did you watch that in syndication ever? I loved this
Yeah,
show.
my grandpa really liked Three's Company. remember trying to like it as a kid. Probably
Mhm.
reruns, mind you, but
Yeah.
and I didn't get it. Like it was above my head. I think that's probably a good thing for that age. But even like
Yeah.
I'd watch MASH and stuff. Like there's always reruns of these shows going.
Yep.
But that's
Yeah.
back when you just had to watch whatever's on TV. Like you can't just stream whatever you feel like.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there were a lot of reruns. I think I saw a lot of things like that were because I had older sisters as well. So I saw things that were beyond my year,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
could, like I said, you couldn't pick. And I
Yeah.
remember watching like Cheers and things like that. I think now I'm like, I have a 10-year-old daughter, and there's no way she'd sit through Cheers.
No.
Like, not happening.
Yeah. The attention spans have changed.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It's like I actually have a hard time watching a movie with her in general, like getting her to sit for an hour and a half. So yeah, they like it's TikTok and YouTube shorts and you need just smaller videos. So this is just
Mhm.
the endless cycle of the older generation harping on the younger generation. I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll do the same thing with their kids too.
It's true. But I mean, how much smaller can we get? I mean, I can't imagine what their kids will be watching
Yeah,
or
like I remember
won't be
when
watching anything.
TikTok first came out, for example, and it was like videos under a minute. I'm like, what's the point of it? And now it's like you get in this void where you're watching it forever and then you stop watching it and you feel like shit. Can I say that on the podcast? Can I say?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. You
cool.
can curse.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all for cursing. Yeah, it's crazy. It is. And you're right. Like our parents said similar things about us, but I never watched Falcon Crest, but it was also one of the popular shows, as was The Love Boat. I've never seen The Love Boat. Ryan thinks I would like it.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, I've
Like,
never seen Love Boat either or Falcon Crest or honestly, even Magnum PI. Like I've seen shots of it and stuff, but I've never
same.
watched an episode. I don't know why there were never reruns of that, but then there were reruns of Three's Company and MASH and stuff, or Cheers.
Yeah, good point.
I don't know who's
I-
in charge of deciding what reruns you should show, but whatever.
I agree. Yeah. The A-Team, this was their season or their series premiere
Right.
for the A-Team with our Clubber Lang
That's right. That's right.
in aka Mr. T. The Jeffersons, and I have seen that in syndication quite a bit. It's pretty good.
Never watched the Jeffersons either.
Really?
Yeah.
Newhart?
No.
That's pretty old. What I remember about Newhart is there were like these three guys that hung out, and I can't remember what the guy's name. He's like, "This is my brother Daryl, and this is my other brother Daryl."
Okay.
Yeah. One Day at a Time. That's the Valerie Bertinelli one. I never got into that show, like reruns or anything. And then Knots Landing, I think, is another soap. So some of the shows so there's a few notable finales and notable premieres that I wanted to bring up that weren't necessarily like in the top Nielsen ratings. So Square Pegs, I never saw that, but that was Sarah Jessica Parker.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that was one of her early roles. Laverne and Shirley, Archie Bunker's Place, Taxi, and Chicks.
I liked Taxi as a kid. I don't know why. Like I like the opening scene especially.
Yeah,
I
too.
think partially too because I liked Back to the Future movies as a kid.
Oh, for
And
Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd was in Taxi, and his character was just so out to lunch too, funny. And I also like Danny
Mhm.
DeVito. He was in a lot of films, and he was in Taxi. So, yeah, I enjoyed that show.
Tony Danza.
Oh yes, of course, right? Yeah, because I used to like Who's the Boss as well,
Mm-hmm.
and he was
Yeah,
in.
Who's the Boss was great.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch? So there's two notable premieres, Mama's Family and Webster. You familiar? Webster, that Emmanuel Lewis, he was the little kid, like adopted by like a white family.
No, I never saw that.
I don't
one.
remember where they were. I remember they had a dumbwaiter in their house and Webster would get in it. And I don't know. That's like what I remember watching about Webster. And I loved Mama's Family. There were reruns of this. It must have been like on Saturday or Sunday mornings because I remember watching it as a kid, like in the summertime.
Yes, of course, summertime TV where you're desperate to watch anything.
Yeah. It was funny. I would still watch. It's quite good. I like it, but it's so 80s, early 80s, in
Right.
fact. Yeah. Were you a like Saturday morning cartoon kid?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's funny too because like we had cable off and on when I was growing. So I had cable a little bit as a kid, and then we moved out like outside of the city where they didn't offer cable. So we couldn't afford to get one of those huge satellite dishes that,
Mm-hmm.
the ones with a concrete foundation in your backyard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I had what we call it peasant view here, which is like your 3 channels.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, that's everyone here calls that. Well, everyone here back in the day used to call that peasant view.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have like 3 or 4 channels that just came in through the air, and you'd have your antenna on your TV. So I had that for probably the majority of my childhood. So I don't know, like there was limited, like there basically just be like cartoons on Saturday morning. I think,
Yeah.
either cartoons or the news, right? And so
you were gonna go with the
yes,
cartoons.
for sure.
Yeah. Of the two, and yeah. I have these fond memories of eating a bowl of cereal in front of the TV.
Oh yeah.
Watching cartoons. What cereal did you eat?
Okay.
When you were a kid?
My parents never bought sugared cereal unless it was like Christmas or your birthday.
Oh wow.
And I don't like it now to this day. I can eat it, but I find it way too much sugar. So like
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Cheerios, like normal Cheerios, not like frosted Cheerios, shredded wheat, Shreddies, Rice Krispies, cornflakes, like just like your basic cereals.
Oh my gosh, I'm so American because even with I did eat the sugar cereal, love it, still do. But Rice Krispies, for example, we would always have Rice Krispies, but I would literally put sugar on
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I would too. Especially if my parents weren't around, you just dump a shit ton of sugar on your Rice Krispies. And then your milk tasted like absurdly sweet at the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in 83, the cartoon lineup, we have Charlie Brown and the Snoopy Show, the new Scooby and Scrappy Show.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people hate on Scrappy Doo, but I didn't mind him.
Yeah, it's all right.
Shirt Tales, which I loved, the Smurfs, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Bugs Bunny, and the Roadrunner Show. Those were kind of the big ones. And then I don't think it was on Saturday mornings. I'm not sure when it originally aired. I remember watching this show like after school. Inspector Gadget.
Oh shit.
It premiered in 83.
Yeah, Inspector Gadget was like a treat. Like I never seemed to catch it, but if I did, I was always like super happy when it came on. Yeah, Bugs Bunny. And then there was this Canadian one called like the Raccoons or something like that. The villain was like Cyril Sneer.
I've heard about this, but we didn't have it. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of liked that. I don't think it was that good, but that was on a lot. I feel like there were other cartoons as well in the 90s. I think the 90s is better for, He-Man and She-Ra were big.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
And then if in the 80s, if you're a kid, especially a boy, Ninja Turtles was everything. So that was my go-to cartoon for sure. I feel, if I had more time to think about this, I could name more, but I feel like the early 90s had a ton of great cartoons.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I think that early 90s is better than the 80s for cartoons. I'm just going to, late 80s, early 90s, but it sounds like the cartoons early 80s. I don't think so.
Well, I'm going to say mid 80s into the early 90s was probably like peak.
Yeah, okay, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I always like Bugs
In
Bunny,
my
though,
opinion.
and Roadrunner. I always enjoyed probably my best old school cartoon I'd watch.
I also liked Tom and Jerry a lot. Again, I think a lot of these were on after school. I must have caught them before, like coming home from school with a snack.
Did you? No, it's not a cartoon, but did you ever watch Degrassi Junior High?
Yes. You know what? Because it's Canadian.
It's in Toronto.
We actually watched it in school.
Yeah, because the show was actually really edgy. Like it would talk about all these issues and stuff. You would talk about abuse, alcoholism, teen pregnancy, because the character Spike got pregnant.
Yes. Oh my God, you remembered her name.
Yeah. Oh, I'm actually watching that with my daughter right now. Like it's on, I think it's on Prime or something.
Does she like it?
You know what? She loves judging people's clothes and hairstyles. and making fun of it.
Oh, she's right. She's my girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you two would actually get along really well. She'd like you. Yeah, and then they had like abortion and in the high
Yeah.
school. 'Cause high school was like late 80s, early 90s. Like one of the characters got AIDS. People were smoking
Oh.
pot. Like it was just like one thing after another. I lived off Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High after school as a kid.
Yeah. I remember that. I guess that was like the ultimate like after school special, but it was a series.
I find it funny now though, because they all have these Ontario accents. And that's sort of like the stereotypical Canadian, like a boot and stuff like that. And I hear that in their
Oh, they
accent.
do.
Like, oh, what's that a boot?
Yes, they do. They do. Oh, so that's Ontario?
Yeah, like that show. Yeah, that accent's from Ontario. That show is filmed in Toronto. It's like a suburb of Toronto called Etobicoke. And so it's funny that school looks like my daughter's school. Like they were built around the same time. I think they just built them all the same.
Yeah, I'm sure. Cookie cutter. Some of the midday programming, American Bandstand,
Yeah.
Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
I love Fat Albert as a kid.
Yeah.
American Gladiator. I love the show. That was
Oh,
the best.
yeah. I feel like that might have been, when did that, I
Is that
feel like that was
90s?
like late 80s, early
Yeah.
90s maybe.
Okay, so a little bit past our time
Yeah.
period here.
And I'd never heard of this Thundar the Barbarian. Have you heard of that?
No, I
Well,
haven't.
listeners, if you watched this, please let me know.
Honestly, for this segment of the show, I feel like Ryan would have been a much better guest because he's 10 years older than me. So
Yeah.
he would remember everything from this time period.
I know. He was on the Big Trouble in Little China episode, which was 86.
Right.
So, yeah, I know when I was going through this, I'm like, crap, Kyle wasn't even born yet, probably. But did you watch wrestling as a kid?
Yeah, I liked wrestling. Not like Ryan likes wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Like he knows everything about it. But yeah, I liked wrestling. Like Hulk Hogan and Jake the Snake. And there's this Japanese guy, Yokozuna, who was like a sumo type of guy. There's even two Canadian characters. They look like Mounties, and they had these Quebec accents when they spoke.
Really?
Yeah, like they sounded like this when they spoke, like that French Canadian
Well,
accent.
I don't remember them.
Yeah, there was this like showdown they had. It was like the All America team against the Foreign Fanatics. And in the Foreign Fanatics, there's like Lex Luthor and Yokozuna and these two Canadian guys and like a couple other characters. And
Why was Lex foreign?
I mean, was it Lex Luthor? Maybe it was some other. It was like this German guy. Maybe I'm confused, but yeah, I of course wanted the foreign team to win, but they didn't.
You can't have that. America's got to
But like
win.
wrestling is big in like Western Canada. A lot of those guys, like Bret Hart, is from Canada, and like a few of those other guys are as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like there was a thing here called Stampede Wrestling that was kind of similar. They went on in the 70s, and yeah, WWF would always come through Canada. Like I'm sure Ryan has been to a lot of them.
I've never been to one.
Yeah, same.
But I watched it with my grandpa on TV.
The most redneck thing I've ever been to is a monster truck rally. And also
I've
my
never been
dad
to
used
one
to
of those
take me
either.
to these things called demolition derbies where,
How is that different from a monster truck rally?
well, usually there isn't a monster truck there, but it's just people in these cars smashing into each other.
Oh,
Where like the monster truck rally has that, but then also these monster trucks come in and crush the cars and do jumps and stuff like that. Like a demolition
wow.
derby is like a poor man's version of a monster truck rally.
got it. Never did not. Well, I'm a girl, but no, we didn't do that.
Too good for
Yeah.
You just have
I
sisters,
guess
yeah? Would you have any brothers?
Yeah. We're a family of, there's 3 girls. So
Okay, yeah.
that would not have been up our alley at all. So let's move on to the music top 10 billboards from this week, March 25th, 1983. I guarantee you know a lot of these. The number
sure.
1 song was Billie Jean.
Oh, of course.
Michael
I thought for
Jackson.
sure it's going to be something Michael Jackson related.
Yep. Then Culture Club's Do You Really Want to Hurt Me
Oh.
is number 2.
Yeah. Classic.
That's in a lot of movies, I think.
Or even
too.
like that was a big one in The Wedding Singer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
the 80s theme movie. And that was probably one of my first real exposures to that song. That movie came out in like the 90s when I was a teenager. Like, I'm sure I'd heard it on the radio or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran is the number 3 song. I'm sure you know that one on the radio.
Okay, I'm really bad at song names.
Yeah.
If you hum the tune, I'll be like, yeah, I recognize that song. But...
Yeah. Hungry. No,
I'm not
going to do it.
The wolf.
Yeah. Lionel Richie, I'm not a fan of his, but he had the number 4 song. It's called You Are. So I can't picture it because I never really listened to Lionel Richie. But the number 5 song is Back on the Chain Gang by the Pretenders. I can picture that song. Kenny Rogers and Sheena Easton, We've Got Tonight.
Oh, nice.
Is number 6.
Yeah.
We've got tonight. Who needs tomorrow? We've got tonight, babe. So why don't we stay deep in my soul?
Mr. Roboto
Oh,
by Styx.
yes.
It's number 7. Journey. Of course, there has to be a Journey song in here. Number 8. Separate Ways. Worlds Apart, in parentheses, Worlds Apart.
I was hoping you would say Don't Stop Believing. I don't know when in that.
No, it's not that one, but this one's better, I think.
Okay.
Only because the one you referenced is just so overplayed.
Yeah, true.
Think
It's
of
a
it.
victim of its own dominance.
Yes. That's a good way of putting it.
I ripped that off from Rocky Balboa. They said that about Mason Dixon, that he's a victim of his own dominance.
Really?
Yeah.
I should have known that.
See, that's not in the quizzes we do, though. See, you're like ahead on
Well,
the
we
Rocky...
haven't gotten to that one
I
yet.
know, but it's like stuff like that you don't happen to know is never in the quizzes.
The super random trivia.
Exactly, yeah.
Number 9 is One on One by Hall & Oates, and number 10 is Twilight Zone by Golden Earring.
Yes, Golden
that's the movie we're
Earring.
in.
I remember specifically someone asked me once, could you think of another song Golden Earring has done other than Radar Love?
No.
And
I
that's
couldn't
one. Yeah. And then my mom was,
and it
she
made
was
the
like,
top 10.
she listed like 6 or 7 of them. She's like, I bought that album. It was really good.
Oh.
Well, because my mom was like an adult at this time, right? So,
yeah, of course. But I didn't know, like, I wouldn't have been able to name another one.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have even been able to name Radar Love. I mean, I've heard of Golden Earring, but
you don't know
they're
Radar
little-
Love?
I do,
Oh, okay.
but I wouldn't have been able to
Oh,
just
I
like pull
see,
it
yeah.
from air.
Yeah, they're a Dutch
Yeah.
band.
Oh.
It's funny how a lot of foreigners, when they sing, don't sound foreign. You know what I mean? If they're singing in English.
Yeah, what's that about?
I don't know. Like
How
British
is that?
people, like
Do you know why?
Coldplay is a exception to that. Chris Martin, he sounds British when he sings. But like Adele and a lot of other people, they seem to lose the accent when they're singing.
Like the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
There's so many British
Yeah.
bands. Yeah.
And these Dutch people, I would never have guessed they were Dutch. Like when he sings in English, he doesn't have an accent at all.
This is a phenomenon I've often wondered about as well. And I'll bet somebody knows why that is. And if you do, please let me know.
Yeah, I think, okay, this is my unqualified opinion here, but I think when you're singing, your mouth can't the same shape and your like positioning of your tongue is different. And so it's like a lot of the motions you'd have to make to have that accent you can't do. That's my guess, but I don't really know.
I like it. I think that tracks.
We'll go with that for now.
We're short on news and events that I thought people might be interested in before we get into the movie. This was surprising to me. Compact discs, CDs, were introduced by Philips and Sony. 1983.
You know what's funny? In the movie The Wedding Singer, which is supposed to be around this time, the rich asshole guy who Drew Barrymore is set to marry, he brought home this CD player. He's like, this costs like $600. It's like, God knows how much it is now, but I'd probably like $1,500. But he's like, the sound quality is outstanding. And then Drew Barrymore's like, oh, we should play some records on that. He's like, no, you play CDs. It's a CD player. But do you remember, this would be for me mid to late 90s, you'd have a Discman playing your CD.
Yeah.
And that thing would skip if you looked at it wrong.
Yeah. Well, it was one of the newer versions. Like that was a big feature. It had some sort of balancing mechanism that it wasn't supposed
Yeah,
to.
and it was measured in seconds. Like my CD player had what's called like a 3-second skip. And then the longer it was, the more you could shake it around. And my friends are getting like 5 or 10-second skips because they had newer versions. So basically, if you shook it where it would cause a delay of less than 3 seconds, you wouldn't hear it. Like it would keep playing.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, now I think not that anyone uses discmans. I think the latest versions of them you can like smack on the table and they wouldn't skip. But
And we had those giant like stereo systems
Yes.
too. Like that took up, yeah.
you'd have that in your room.
I-
Like it'd make your room look
Oh,
cool
yeah.
because you had a giant stereo
Oh,
system.
totally. I can totally picture mine. And there was a remote and everything.
And like the nice houses would have like that in their living room behind like a shelf with glass cabinet doors. And they'd have a thing with all the cassettes or CDs like neatly there and stuff. And if you had a shitty...
We didn't ever have one like in our living room. It was like in my room,
Well,
which had one in our, yeah.
Yeah, but like some families would have like, they're always like look like metallic in color. Like they look like stainless steel or something almost. And they were huge and they had like a bajillion knobs on it, which I don't know what they're supposed to do. And that would be like the family sound system, which would be the really nice one. And then you'd have your almost boombox looking sound system in your room.
Ooh, the boombox. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a family sound
No,
system?
I'm talking about like nice houses.
Oh. I was like, we didn't.
Yeah, no, I noticed that. Okay, so I didn't grow up like super poor, but like I grew up in a solidly middle or upper middle class town, but I was not middle class. You know what I mean? So it's like I was never in poverty or anything, but like all my friends had more money than me. So like when I go to their house, I like notice all this stuff around.
Then you come home and beg your parents for it, and they're like, dang it.
It reminds me
Well,
of
we
this
don't want you
Dave
to
Chappelle skit where he's like, he's like, I didn't grow up in the ghetto. He's like, I grew up just nice enough to be poor around white people. And he's like, come back from their house and be like, Mom, Dad, you really got to up your game.
I've heard that, and I feel like I've heard all of Dave Chappelle's stuff. But yeah, I guess considering they came out in 1983, I feel like I didn't start getting CDs until like the late 90s.
No, because I think it was like you and the wedding singer, you mentioned that CD player was like $600, right? And it's like no one is going to spend that unless you're really rich. And so I think like people just preferred to have cassettes. Plus, like you had the Walkman too, right? So it's like if you wanted to play you probably wouldn't have got a Discman in 83. So like your CD would be limited to just your home. Where if you had a cassette, you could play it at home, but also bring it with you with your Walkman, which would be great.
Yeah.
And then it didn't
Also the
skip.
car.
Or the car, yeah. So like I think it took time for the CD to actually get integrated into the main music mix. Because, yeah, even as a little kid, I was buying cassette tapes.
Yeah, I can picture my Walkman. It was maroon. And I played the soundtrack of Cocktail on it over. And I feel like that was like, I had like 2 tapes.
Yes,
And
of course.
somehow Cocktail was one of them.
Yeah, because you go through your parents' tape and it's just a bunch of shit that you wouldn't listen to anyways.
Also, IBM releases PS-DOS version 2.
Nice.
That was probably super high-tech 1983.
Yeah.
Big shocker, both the U.S. and USSR performed nuclear tests.
Oh, yeah.
Umberto II of Italy, who was the last king of Italy, he reigned for 24 days, is all, in 1946. He dies in exile at age 78 of 1983. I was not aware that person existed.
Yeah, same.
Well, he only reigned for 24 days, but I was like, oh, that was the last king of Italy, 1946.
Yeah, I actually am fairly well studied in like World War II and stuff, but that's actually one thing I never looked into or considered was like the Italian monarchy. Because in my mind, like when Mussolini was running the show there, it was just him in power, and maybe there was a king there as a figurehead. I actually don't know at all.
Same.
Maybe they reinstated a king once he was gone, and then people didn't like it. I don't know. I gotta read up
Well,
on
he
that.
dies in exile, so something must have happened.
Yeah, like maybe if he was like it makes sense to me if he was a figurehead or something when Mussolini was around, or maybe his family members were or something, then no one would like him. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like the German Kaiser from World War One lived in exile in the Netherlands after the war, and he
Mhm.
survived like until World War Two. Like he died partway through World War Two.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't learn a lot about Italy
Yeah,
in history class.
yeah. It's like World War Two. It's always like Germany, Japan. You never really care about Italy. They're
Yeah.
kind of a sideshow.
Mhm. Sideshow. And then the last little bit is Harrison Ford married the screenwriter Melissa Matheson, and they divorced in 2004. And I think he's been with, I don't know if they're married,
Yeah,
but
Callista
that
Flockhart.
Callista, yeah, are they married or have they just been together forever?
I don't know, but yeah, they're as good as married. I don't know if they're officially married,
Yeah.
but they might as well be.
So I have a few questions for you, Kyle, before we get into The Outsiders.
Sure.
So my first season of Retromade is built around who I deem the ultimate everyman, Kurt Russell and Patrick Swayze.
Sure.
Do you have any particular thoughts or fandom about either of them?
I'm not a huge fan.
Okay.
I'd say I'd probably prefer Kurt Russell, like Escape from New York or Escape from LA or those kind of films I thought were cool. Patrick Swayze doing pottery as a ghost type of thing never really did it for me.
Didn't trip your trigger?
I don't know. I never really grew up watching either of them that much. Like they're both kind of peripheral characters for me.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, this will be interesting then. Do you think that they look at all alike?
Yeah, like if you told me they were cousins or something like that, I'd be like, yeah, makes sense.
Love it. Okay, I'm starting to get more people because I very much think they look alike.
I never thought about
And
it really.
a lot of yeah, I know. But if they're side by side, like in the mid 80s or late 80s, and they're around the same age, I think Kurt's like a year or two older.
Yeah.
I think they look very similar. And I wish they would have played cousins or brothers or something. But they didn't. And then we lost Patrick. But I'm glad to hear you say that because I feel like a lot of people that I've had on, mostly the men, don't really see it.
I get in arguments like this all the time, especially with my wife. Like her and I's criteria for who looks alike and who doesn't is pretty different. So it's,
Okay.
yeah, I've gotten many a fight about like if someone looks like someone else. Even like you say, if you see a movie character or a TV character and they remind you of someone you know in real life, you'll say to the
Yeah.
person beside you, hey, doesn't this person look like so-and-so? And, sometimes someone will be like, no, not at all. And you're like, are you insane? Did you not see it?
Yeah. Yes, that's how I am with this whole thing. I'm like, how do people not see it? Yeah. All right. Shall we get into the movie, The Outsiders?
So I want to show you Dog Lou he got his hair cut, so he's looking good.
Oh, hold him up a little higher. Oh, hi, Lou. Oh, my God.
He's
I
a good
love
boy.
him. I want to put him in my purse and take him home.
He's ours. We love this guy. He's 9 years
Oh,
old.
my God. He's so cute.
When his hair grows out, they think he looks like an Ewok from Star Wars.
Yeah. He's got the same coloring, too.
Boy, Lou. He was like on the couch.
He is a good.
I had to coax him to come off coax him to come off the couch, and he really didn't feel like it. And then,
Well, with him, you can just pick him up. That's the thing that sucks about having big dogs. I can't pick them up.
yeah, he's super cuddly. Like he's probably 10, 12 pounds. And
I love that.
he's part Shih Tzu, so he's like really good with kids, and he's a good lap dog. He's a good snuggle dog. Like if I go down for a nap or something, he's like excited. He's like, yeah, let's do this.
That's my kind of dog. I love that so
Oh,
much.
Shih Tzus are fucking lazy dogs, which is great because they don't demand a lot of you, but they still like to go for
Yeah.
walks and do stuff.
Sure.
But it's not like if you have a border collie that's like super smart and energetic and stuff. Like that's a lot. I grew up with a dog that was like half border collie, half German shepherd. So he was
Oh, they need
smart
a
as
lot.
fuck, and he needed a ton of exercise. And he was a good dog,
Yeah.
but like he had a rough
He'll
time
find
when we
something
left
to
him at
do.
home, during the workday.
Yeah. Yeah. They're beautiful. I can't do super intelligent. I like a dumb dog.
Yes.
I'll be perfectly honest. I like a dumb dog and I like a lazier dog.
Yeah, intelligent dogs get into trouble a lot.
Yeah, they do.
And like they circumvent things you do to stop. Like you don't want them to do something, they'll figure out a way around it.
Yeah, I have bloodhounds right now, and they're not like a border collie, but they're extremely stubborn and inquisitive and independent. So I will catch Rambo like side-eyeing, like out of the side of his eye, like, is she watching me?
Yeah.
Because he knows what he's not supposed to do, but he'll do it anyway.
Oh, for
Anyway,
sure.
yeah.
And they know when they get caught and you yell at them and they
Mhm.
kind of look away like this.
But he never learns his lesson. He'll continue to do it over and over.
Oh,
and
for
over
sure.
again.
Like for them, it's like a cost-benefit analysis. So it's like,
And I can see it in his head. He's naughty, but I love him.
you love them no matter what. Like to me, they're just like kids, like they're going to get into trouble.
Yeah. Can't have nice things.
No.
We were just about to start our discussion about the actual movie. So The Outsiders was released on March 25th, 1983. It was rated PG and its IMDb rating is a 7. Exactly
I
a
stopped
7.
you on the rating there because I had to
Yeah.
rent this movie this morning because I couldn't get it on any of the streaming services.
Oh, it's on Max.
Oh, yeah.
Do you not have
Okay, they have what's in Canada called Crave, and that has all the HBO stuff on it.
Oh, okay.
But I tried to search that one, and it didn't seem to. Maybe I forgot to search it. Whatever. It was rated for some reason like 18A when the movie first came out. I thought that was odd. Like you're rating a PG or whatever, like that seems to make more sense.
Well, that's according to IMDb.
Yeah,
the
and
rating,
usually
yeah.
ratings in Canada are more liberal. For example, a lot of stuff that's rated R in America is not rated R here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So like I was real surprised. Like you have to have, like say Saving Private Ryan to be rated R here because it's like brutal violence. But if you see
Mhm.
some chick's boobs, that doesn't make it rated R type of thing,
Yeah.
which you don't see in
Interesting.
Outsiders anyway.
No, I wonder if it's just like heaviness overall. Like,
Yeah, I can't explain that. I'll
Yeah.
just pretend that didn't happen. That rating.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, our director, we touched upon him a little bit earlier, but the acclaimed Francis Ford Coppola, who is actually, for those who might not be aware, the brother of our Adrian.
is that right?
So Rocky's Adrian. Yeah, Alia Shire and Francis Ford Coppola are siblings.
Get out. I never knew that.
You didn't know
No,
that?
I'm sure Ryan did.
Yeah, because she's in Godfather as Connie.
She's not a bad actor by any means. It does help to know people as well.
Certainly. I mean, in this movie was, I'll touch on it in a little bit, quite the family affair, actually, because, let's see, the music was done by Carmine Coppola, who is their father.
Father Carmine.
Indeed. And then Giancarlo, which I freaking love that name so much. It's like one of my favorite names. He was Francis's son, and he was an associate producer on this movie. But he actually died in 1986 at the age of 23 in a boat cable accident. We'll talk about, like, in some of the casting, like another family member tried to get in this movie. Didn't make it.
They can't all make it, or else the movie will
They
suck.
cannot. So the writers here, we have obviously the author of the book, S.E. Hinton. She was one of the writers on this movie. She also wrote Rumblefish. And then the other writer is Kathleen Rowell. And people might know her from Hear No Evil and The Joy of Sex.
People like sex.
I guess.
What?
Yeah.
I thought it was just an obligation to make babies.
Yeah, that's right. That's
weird.
That's what it should
Yes.
be. Now, as I touched on when I introduced this episode, this cast is out of this world.
It was really perfectly timed because it's like these guys' names, it's not like they were unknowns necessarily at the time, but it's like you couldn't have had all those guys in a movie, notwithstanding age. You couldn't have all that cast 10 years later. with a
No,
budget
because
like
they were
that.
all up and
Yeah,
right.
like it was just they swooped all these awesome up and coming guys up at the same time and got them in the same room. That's pretty rare.
It's super rare. And I mean, they literally all went on to have pretty incredible careers. So we have C. Thomas Howell
Yeah.
plays Ponyboy Curtis. Matt Dillon plays Dallas. Ralph Macchio plays Johnny. And our everyman, Patrick Swayze, plays Daryl Curtis. Rob Lowe, he plays Soda Pop Curtis. Couple things. So Rob Lowe, this was his film debut.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I didn't know it was his debut, but he obviously was very young. He was friends with the Sheens, like prior.
Yes. He was part of the Brat Pack.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like interwoven, a lot of this cast, they go on to be in other things together. So
The actor who played Ponyboy, that's the only one I couldn't picture in other films.
yeah, but have you seen Red Dawn?
Oh, God. Long ago. Like well over
It was the
25 years
next
ago.
year. I just covered
Okay.
it for the show because C. Thomas Howell and Patrick Swayze are both in
I have
that,
to watch that.
along with, so there's actually 4 people in both movies.
Wow. That reminds me almost of like how Scorsese often has the same people in these movies
Mhm.
over and over again.
Yeah. All right. So William Smith, Darren Dalton, he plays Randy in this. He's one of the Socs, as is William Smith. So Darren, William Smith, C. Thomas Howell, and Patrick Swayze all teamed up again the year in 84 in Red Dawn with Emilio's brother, Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
See how that's all related?
Yeah. I think there's a benefit to doing that too, because it's like people, like when you have people that know each other, it's assuming they get along, or even if they don't, but if they're professional enough that they can still work together anyways, like they know each other, they can have good chemistry, they know how to work together. And I think that's
Mhm.
a big advantage.
Agreed. It's like I forget that this is a job for them. It's sort of like us and our jobs. You kind of like you get to know certain people you like to work with. But yeah, so Rob Lowe, I'm curious if you've seen, so he goes on, I think in 86. Have you seen Youngblood? It's a hockey movie.
Happen.
Oh my God, Kyle, it's so
Yeah,
good.
I have my notepad here. I gotta make a note of this here.
Write it down. It's a hockey movie. And so Rob Lowe stars in it and Patrick Swayze's in that. So they are in that together also. And then Rob Lowe also goes on to star with Emilio Estevez in St. Elmo's Fire.
Also, never
You've seen that,
No.
right? You gotta see it.
I'm really coming off as a kind of a rube here, I think.
No. It's also got quite the cast.
Okay.
Like all like big names from the 80s.
First time I can remember seeing Rob Lowe in a movie was Wayne's World.
What?
Yeah.
He was a heartthrob in the 80s, like so
Yeah,
good
but
looking.
probably a lot of these movies in the 80s didn't interest me when I was a young
Mhm.
kid. Like, I really liked Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Like, I like that SNL kind of comedy.
Yep.
Rob Lowe was a really great villain in the Wayne's World movie.
That was sort of his comeback. I feel like that was kind of his comeback because he had like a sex tape scandal.
Well, yeah, he like
And
had
so
sex
he
with a
kinda-
teenager or something like that.
Yeah. So he kind of went away from our eyes for a bit, but in the 80s, like he's so pretty. Maybe I was drawn to
Oh,
him.
he's
obviously, 'cause like,
ridiculously good looking guy. He's super good looking.
it's not. It almost hurts to look. I mean, he's
And he's
way
very
too good-looking.
charismatic too. Like, he seems like a
Mhm.
very nice person. I don't know if he's an asshole or not, but like he comes across as a really
I've heard him
nice
on
person.
podcasts. He has a couple podcasts, and he was also in Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Did you watch
Oh
that
yeah,
show?
yeah, for sure. So yeah, that guy could slay for sure. If you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
Indeed. Yes. So he plays Soda Pop. Okay. So I gotta say, when I rewatched this, it took me a minute. There's so many characters and their names are kind of similar that I find it a little hard to keep everybody straight. Like
Yeah,
there's
same here.
Ponyboy and Soda Pop and Derry and Dally.
I was
and,
worried
you know.
about that when I was watching it this morning because I haven't actually seen that movie since the late 90s.
Okay.
right? So I'm
Yeah,
like,
probably same.
shit, I gotta watch this again, or else I'm not gonna really know what I'm talking about in the podcast. And I had the cast list up on my phone, and I was really trying to get an inventory of what all the characters' names are on before I came on today. So I'm like, that
It's
guy,
hard.
with the leather jacket, he wears jeans, and his hair is greased back.
One of 6 of
Yeah,
them.
exactly. They get lots of fight. That guy. He smokes.
Oh my God. Yeah. There's a lot of smoking in this. But let's see. Emilio Estevez plays
Yeah,
Two-Bit.
2-bit.
Like the names are just
Okay,
crazy.
I gotta tell you this though. I knew this woman. She married a guy from Canada, and he took her up here. But she's from like Appalachia, Kentucky.
Okay.
And she was telling me like her mom was like a special ed teacher, and she was saying it was like kind of normal for these kids to have like really weird names, like named after like cocktails, like that.
Really?
Yeah. So
Well, this was set in Oklahoma.
exactly. I actually have family in Oklahoma too. I have a lot of
You do?
yeah. I have I don't know if I told you this, but like my dad's family is basically American,
Yeah.
and so half his siblings were born in the U.S. So some of his siblings live there still, and one moved to Oklahoma in the 70s. So she's
Interesting.
fully not Canadian
Oklahoman.
anymore. Like she talks
Yeah.
like this, and she's in the
Oh.
Daughters of the American Revolution, like the DAR.
Is that still a thing?
Yes, I guess so.
Oh,
Because
wow.
our ancestors came up the Mayflower. Like my dad's mom's from Maine, so they've been in New England forever. But anyway, yeah, like
Wow.
I see her stories about Oklahoma fairly often. And I did find it kind of an odd setting for this film, to be honest. Like when you think of
Mm.
greasers, you don't think of
Yeah, I agree. I had forgotten that it was set in Oklahoma in what 1965, I want to
I saw
something
a
like that.
license plate that said 66 at the gas station. So that's the year
Okay.
I used for it.
Okay.
But
Okay. Yeah, that tracks. Let's see, where were we cast-wise? Tom Cruise in this as well. He plays Steve. And then so those are all the greasers.
yeah.
Then the Socs, we have Glenn Withrow playing Tim, Diane Lane, who is absolutely
Oh,
stunning
yeah.
in this.
Yeah, for sure.
She plays Cherry. Leif Garrett plays Bob. And as I mentioned, Darren Dalton plays Randy. Yeah. So for those of you who, like Kyle, haven't seen this in a long time, or maybe you've never seen it, it's an adaptation of the 1967 novel by S.E. Hinton. It's a coming-of-age crime drama set. It says set in 1965.
Maybe the 66
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
is the expiry of the registration on the plate,
Oh, maybe.
right? So maybe prior to
Maybe.
66.
I mean, but it could also be a film flub because it wasn't filmed until the 80s. So,
But it's like, usually you get a sticker that goes to the next year. So actually having 66 on there does make sense.
okay. Yeah.
Although this wouldn't have been
So set
stickers
in-
back then. You used to get a new plate every time back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. That's nuts. Coming-of-age crime drama set in 1965, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The rivalry between two gangs, the poor greasers and the rich Socs, only heats up when one gang member kills a member of the other. It made almost $34 million on a $10 million budget. That's a pretty low budget, actually.
Yeah. Now, our favorite film, Rocky, which was made before Outsiders, so there's inflation to take into account, had $1 million budget. So that's a much more extreme example.
Yes. It was like an indie movie, though.
Yeah, true. We'll say
right?
it's the
Yeah.
equivalent of, say, $1.5 million by 1983. Take into account
Mhm.
inflation.
Yeah.
So, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think 10 still, for the cast you got, they really got the bang for their buck.
Indeed. Huge bang. And yeah, Coppola is, I mean, at this time, like he's a huge name because he had done both of the Godfathers. Do you have overall impressions of The Outsiders or favorite scenes or
Oh, yeah.
memories watching it as a kid?
Okay, so I remember more of my feelings about the movie because I watched it as a young teenager, So I would have been like a year or two younger than Ponyboy at the time. Ponyboy was 14 in the film. I don't know how old the actual actor was, but so
Yeah, he was 14.
I
Yeah.
remember
I-
thinking
you're-
that the greasers were really cool. As like
Yeah.
a poor kid, I definitely identified with the greasers much more than the Socs. So I thought they were just the coolest. I thought the Socs were just these assholes that, picked fights for no reason. And, they had the big rumble at the end and won. That's great. And so, but I don't remember, I didn't remember a ton of the detail about the film. And so I'm watching it now as an adult and just watching, first of all, I'm a huge nostalgia sucker. Even like nostalgia for a time that I wasn't, if I'm not around in it, especially. So I love the 60s. I'm not a big fan of the 50s, but like the 60s and 70s are very interesting to me. And so something set in the 60s catches my eye, like the cars, or like they go to the old looking Dairy Queen, or just the clothes, or the drive-in movie. I loved the drive-in as a kid. It reminded me, it was just like the drive-in I went to as a kid, basically. So stuff like that I had a very good impression of the film just that way. I thought it was produced fairly well, especially for the 80s. But what surprised me about the movie that I didn't take as a kid is just how I didn't like most of the characters. Like even the greasers. There's like a lot of them. The Dallas character, I really didn't like watching it right now.
Okay.
But I think me as a teenager thought he'd be really cool. But I'm like, holy cow, is this guy ever an asshole? Or just the way people were always fighting and doing stupid stuff. He's like this rowdy horseplay. I was just like, I found it a little over the top.
The character bit, and specifically Dallas. So he is super obnoxious. It's like him and, let's see, who's the other one?
Two Bit
are being really obnoxious at the drive-in to the girls. And they're all drunk and obnoxious. And like the way that they're acting towards the girls, like as a woman, I'm like, oh my God, I would have been so uncomfortable. So I hear what you're saying, but I do think as a character study, so they all have like a total shit home life, all the greaser kids.
Of course.
And he has apparently been to jail before because he says it makes you meaner. So I wonder if
maybe something happened to him in there because he's a tough guy on the street with these 15-year-olds. But if he's in jail with men, he's probably on the bottom of the totem pole, and you know what that might mean, right? Also, it's interesting, they don't talk about this a lot, but he's a transplant from New York because he has the New York accent. And then he's like, I thought, like when Ponyboy and Johnny, after the murder incident, come to that bar or wherever it is for Dallas's help, Dallas, he's quite gracious and helps them out. And he says, I thought it'd be in New York I'd get caught in a murder rap. Like, he never thought it would happen to me here, right? And he's the only one, because everyone else kind of speaks with a bit of an Oklahoma accent, although albeit not that convincingly. Like the people, my family from Oklahoma speaks more with more twang, and they're from like Oklahoma City, which is bigger than, and so like, but he's like, the Johnny has this really over the top New York accent,
Yeah, he does. Oh, that particular scene actually. So I'm very curious what he does, what Dallas, aka Dally, he's referred to as both. And I always confuse that with Derry.
Yeah, so I said Johnny, but I meant Dallas earlier, yeah. What he does for a living? Like, how do they get money?
Yeah, because he gave him $50.
Which it's about it's nice with inflation. It's basically 10 to 1. When I looked at
$500.
Yeah, so he gave him and he had it in cash with him.
Yeah.
Which seems a little bit outrageous. I'm guessing he does crime for a living. He sells drugs or he steals, or you know what I mean. He doesn't seem like a day job kind of guy. Where
that's true.
Patrick Swayze and the other guy, I think Tom Cruise's character, they work at like the gas station or something, right? So like
Well, Rob Lowe and Tom Cruise. So let's see, that would be Soda Pop and Steve.
Yeah.
They work at the gas station.
Yeah, that's right.
Patrick Derry, I think he's like a roofer or something.
Okay.
He's like a
that's right. They do
construction
say it's
job.
construction. Yeah, they did say
something.
that
Yeah.
because when Ponyboy was talking with the two girls, he talked about how he's big and does construction.
Yeah. So you're right. I think it is his job is crime. But that's a lot of money just to have and give to these kids.
You know what? I
And
think
he
too,
sends them on their way to get out of
when
town.
you don't have anything too, I think it's like sometimes easier to give, as counterintuitive as that may seem. Like you just when you live hand to mouth, money comes, money goes. You don't have a mentality of saving for the future or stuff like that. So it's just, and he probably feels good being the hero to some degree. Although he doesn't seem to have he seems to be mad at the world, right? Like he's mean to those kids and he's mean to the women. But like you were saying before, all these guys came from broken homes. Like you see that when Johnny's trying to come home and you see the parents fighting, like their silhouette in the window, and all the other guys make comments like, their families are like that too. And the Curtis family, of course, doesn't have parents anymore. Like they're basically a family. Like they have
all
each
these
other.
boys, their gang. Yeah. It's kind of endearing and sweet.
Because I don't think Soda Pop really fits in there. Doesn't really belong. Same with Johnny. Like they're kind of, and the girls notice that too, right? Like at the drive-in, they notice like they're not like those other guys. It seems like Soda Pop and I think I said Soda Pop earlier. I mean, Johnny and Ponyboy don't really belong.
Ponyboy. They're nicer kids.
Yeah, they're nicer maybe because they're younger, but
they're
like
younger.
a bit and Dallas and Soda Pop, they all kind of seem to, be of that lifestyle, like the tough guy, jerk to everyone type of thing. And it's, I wonder if Ponyboy and Johnny, they just kind of have to go along with it because what other option do you have, right?
Yeah, it's their family, like you said. Yeah. I did take especially, Johnny, is it? Yeah. He's gone for like a week and his parents don't care at all. They don't wonder where he's been, anything.
Yeah. Like his parents are probably.
And the other boys don't have parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some of them, I think. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. 2-Bit. Is he a parent? Probably.
Well, we don't know about Steve or 2-Bit. We don't know what their situation is. We could just kind of assume that it's not great. But so the Curtis brothers and the oldest one, I did see that Patrick Swayze was 29 in this movie, but he's playing a 20-year-old. His character is 20.
Yeah.
So he's supporting these, a whole family at the age of 20.
Yeah, they make it clear that if social services ever found it, they'd pull the plug on that. They want to avoid going to a boys' home. But yeah, they kind of have to be together. They kind of have to be a family. And so when he gives them the $500, yeah, it does kind of make sense because it's not like you're helping some random guy. It is weird though.
Yeah.
Dallas does have a family because he talks about his dad, but he likewise talks about how his dad doesn't care about him. Like when they're at the car at the Dairy Queen, he's like, "You think my old man gives a shit about where I am?" Like, no. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've seen a little bit of that when I grew up. Like people whose parents just didn't give a shit. Or their parents are like alcoholics or like whatever. Like they have their own problems and they can't really cope with having kids. So kids just kind of come and go as they please. And, it's just made for trouble.
Survival.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so sad. Yeah, but I did find that I did really like that the boys, despite this weird, so the whole movie is this major class conflict between the greasers and the socias, and it's just accepted as that's the way that it is. Like Cherry and Ponyboy seem to be friends, but they can't be friends in public.
Yes, like she even says to him, don't take it personally if I don't say hello to you at school.
Yeah.
You're right. And
that's just the way it is.
The boy's like, yeah, I understand. It's like,
yeah.
I personally would take it personal. Because
I know. I think it's just showing us that's the world where it's such a class matters so much in this world.
It's really a fictional world too. And I'm not saying class doesn't exist, but it's really an oversimplified class. Because you have these greasers who are destitute, essentially, coming from a broken home, wrong side of the track, which totally exists. And you have these socias who seem incredibly wealthy. They all have nice cars that they're driving around.
Super
Like they're driving
nice
Mustangs
cars.
and these other cars. They have really nice clothes, lots of money, expensive jewelry. Those exist too. But those are really the outliers of most societies, right? It's like
Good point.
the
Yeah.
middle class, the middle kid, which apparently the middle class was much bigger in the 60s than it is now, doesn't seem to exist.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Where are they in this scenario?
And also it's like, is Tulsa like that? I don't know. But like, for instance, if you think of a city where you have really high class people butting up against low class people, I think of somewhere like Boston, where you have a lot of hoity-toity old money type of people. And then not too far by, it's like you have like Southie, like kind of the Goodwill Hunting type of neighborhood.
Yep.
I see this movie taking place in a place like Boston more than a place like Tulsa.
Yeah, there's less movies about it. I feel like there's more, like pop culture around kind of the Northeast, like your Boston example with the class. But I think I was just trying to look. It looks like, so the author of this, I feel like I read somewhere she based this on some people she knew, or she grew up in Oklahoma.
Sure.
So she began writing the novel when she was only 15. Finished it when she was 16, and the book was published when she was 17.
Wow.
That's crazy.
What an accomplishment to write. And it's like a
Yeah.
book that people basically have to study in school. I don't know what now, but
I did. We read this in like 6th grade or grade 6
for Canadians.
for Canadians. Probably Europeans too. Everywhere but it's probably grade 6.
I don't know. They probably say something. I know in French you'd say 6 year,
Oh, yeah.
but
Okay.
I don't know what they'd say in England.
Yeah. And then I think when we were done reading the book, we got our treat for finishing the book was we got to watch the movie.
Right.
Wheeled in on one of those carts.
Of course. And
what
with
I'm
the
talking
strap
about.
goes over the TV to make sure
Yeah.
it doesn't fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the best time in
Oh
school.
man, when you had
there
a
was
sub
movie
that
time.
checked out, and they're like, let's just watch a movie.
Yep. That was the best. So they're on the run just to kind of catch the audience up. So the two boys end up accidentally murdering one of the socias because one of the socias was drowning one of the boys.
I wouldn't
He
call it
gets
an
knifed.
accident, but I'd say it wasn't with malice.
That's a better way
Yeah.
of putting it. I don't think he meant to kill
No.
him.
Okay, yeah, in that sense it was an
Yeah.
accident. Like he
Yeah.
assaulted a Soch to defend his friend who
Yes.
could have been killed. It was you could reasonably expect. I think if you're a lawyer, you could, if that kid had a good enough lawyer, which he wouldn't, of course,
Yeah.
you could get out of
Definitely
that one
not.
because they were outnumbered.
So-
So yeah,
They go on the run and there's this weird, like cut their hair with a dull ass knife
yeah.
and color it, bleach it blonde. And they're hanging out in this church. There's a whole scene about that. And then somehow the church ends up like these kids end up in it messing around and there's a fire.
Okay,
They save the kids.
this is the same church, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
what the fuck is happening here? That's an abandoned church. That's where they were there in the first place. It made it seem like a bunch of kids went to church there, and then what are they doing in that church? Like, why did you bring a group of kids
The
into
kids
this
there.
abandoned
I
church?
don't know.
And then it somehow sets on fire, and then long enough for you not to be able to escape. I could see, to me, a more plausible story is, like when I grew up, for example, I grew up on like the edge of town at one point where they were building a bunch of new houses. And we used to play in these
Oh.
houses under construction when the workers weren't around, right? And
Yep.
like I could see a few kids playing in this church, lighting some matches and getting themselves in trouble, right? This is like a supervised group of kids.
Yeah. I don't remember the scenario why they were there.
There is none. Like they
but-
just show up and maybe the book explains it. I haven't read the book
Maybe.
forever, but the movie sure doesn't.
Actually, that was a good point. I feel like I was reading that there's quite a bit left out of the movie, and that is the studio exec's fault, not Coppola's.
Well,
And he remedied that with he came out later with an extended like director's cut that brought back a lot of the cutscenes.
that's the problem when you have an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Like, what do you keep? What do you
indeed.
trying to think of scenes that maybe weren't
'Cause-
necessary, but
Yeah, the studio definitely wanted to keep it at an hour and a half. They didn't want it to go over that. So he had to cut a lot, I guess. But it's in this time that we're kind of shown that Ponyboy he's really intelligent. He reads, writes poems, and perceptive young kid, but he doesn't feel like he can show that to his like the tough guys.
I really liked him.
Uh,
Like when I watched this, I think I
yeah.
liked him as a kid, but I liked him a lot more as an adult now that I see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a nice person, like someone who'll stand up for himself, but not someone who's like a dick. Like it's kind of a
Agreed.
nice little middle ground.
I actually all of the Curtis boys because I really liked Rob Lowe's
Yeah.
character Soda Pop because he's just like a good guy. He isn't in school. He's like 17 probably, and he works at the gas station instead of being in school, like to help the family make
Yeah.
money. But he's like a nice guy, and I feel like Ponyboy was able to show that side of him with him, like his brother, Soda Pop, and then Derry, Patrick Swayze's character, is just a really good guy. Like he's the overseer of all these kids, whether he wants to be or not.
You could tell he can't cope with the stress of raising those kids, which I don't blame him. Right? If I'm
Mhm.
20 in his situation, I wouldn't either. Because he's like aggressive and kind of mean to Ponyboy when he comes home at 2 a.m, shoves him.
He apologizes,
He does,
though, doesn't
yeah.
he?
I'm not saying he's a bad
Yeah.
person, but I'm saying like he
Yeah.
does. He comes across a little mixed, and
Mm.
but I think it's understandable at the same time. Like he has reason to be.
Yeah.
Where Dallas, for example, perhaps his past makes him that way, but like he has a fairly carefree life in comparison with Derry.
True. Very true. Now, I did take note of when we meet Dallas, Matt Dillon. He looks so good in those 80s style
Yeah,
jeans. Or I guess 60s style, but yeah, he looked really good. Also, Patrick Swayze looks amazing in this movie. Like the way he has his hair, he has the southern accent. There's a scene where he takes his shirt off to
Oh
change,
yeah, he's
like,
in
to change into
excellent shape.
he just looks incredible. And he does that when they go to the Rumble, which is ridiculous. We'll get to.
Okay,
Yeah. He does a gymnastics move off of the fence, and that's him.
I should have researched this ahead of time, but it almost seems like the greasers are in the wrong time period. Like the greasers to me
More
seems
50s,
more like the
more
50s.
Uh-huh.
And so to me, and maybe I have a misperception here, but to me, greasers like that in the mid 60s in Oklahoma doesn't make a ton of sense. Like I could see poor kids.
I wonder if this was sort of them phasing out. Like maybe this was the last. Little
yeah,
bit
like
of
the
them,
last
maybe?
hurrah. It is
Mhm.
funny. Like I remember working in like the early 2000s, like 2002, in this hardware store, and I'd sometimes see older men come in, and their hair was kind of like the greaser kind of hair,
Oh yeah.
or like
so-
the one
yeah.
guy had like all of his buttons unbuttoned except like his shirt was tucked in, all of them unbuttoned except for the bottom couple buttons. I was telling my dad about this when I got home, and he's like, "Oh yeah, people did that in the 50s. This guy just can't get with the times."
Now the hair thing, I totally know what you're talking about, and I kind of love it. Like I dig that I dig like Patrick Swayze's hair in this movie. I love it. Like there's a name for what it is. And sometimes I'll see like on TV shows like men from that era. And
Yeah.
it's kind of supposed to be ridiculous, but I
Yeah, I
kind
guess
of
that's
like
kind
it.
of like a counterculture thing. Like you think of 60s counterculture more as hippies and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
65 is really not that era, right? Like it's still kind of, I think,
right.
because it's like as someone who wasn't around in the 60s, maybe someone could tell me, actually, no, Kyle, there were greasers around, especially in the early 60s, maybe mid 60s. This movie took place in 69. I wouldn't believe there'd be greasers around.
That's a good point. It's like an in-between.
Yeah. It's kind of,
Fine.
the early 80s often resembled the late 70s, right? Like just because you
Yeah.
switch from
Yep.
the 70s to the 80s, it doesn't mean everything changes right away.
Good point.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's their version of counterculture at this time.
Really good point. So, what did you think of the Rumble?
Okay, as a teenager, I'll tell you what I thought as a teenager and now. As a teenager,
Okay.
I thought that was the coolest fucking thing ever.
Mhm.
And we did stuff like that as kids. Not to the same extent, but like I
Mhm.
remember being as a kid, where it's like, oh, we're going to have a fight, our group against their group, or we're going to meet in this area. Yes, no one got fucked up bad, right? Because we were all just little kids. But yeah, like I identified with that for sure. And I like that was just cool. You had it out like this big battle scene. Now I look at it, I look at the whole greasers and socias harassing each other like that, and it's just, I don't know, maybe it's my age now, but it's just utter stupidity. It is just so absurd. And I don't know, like I feel like in reality, you might have greasers and socias at school fucking around with each other, but like I'm guessing they wouldn't even interact with each other that much. They'd be on different sides of town. It would be more like greasers fighting other greasers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I know. I totally know what you mean.
And so it's like you have these greasers that are there, and then you have all these cars pull up. That's what made an impression on me when I was a teenager, is that the socias were pulling up in cars where the greasers had to just walk there.
Yep.
And
In super nice
yeah,
cars.
super
too.
nice cars, and they dress well, like they're in their khaki pants and sweaters showing up to this fight. And you just know the greasers are going to win. I gotta say though, the socias are huge guys.
They were big guys.
The
I
greasers
agree.
were on average so much smaller, with the
Mhm.
exception of Patrick Swayze. I don't know how tall he is, but he seems really big.
He's not tall. Like, I think he's like, I don't know. He's not short, but he's not
Yeah.
tall.
And like the guy Patrick Swayze faces off against too, he's really short. He's quite a bit shorter than Patrick Swayze. Like, the guy, he knew him. Like they played football together in high school.
Yeah. I think that's kind of when I watched this as an adult. A few things really stood out to me. One being the idea of a scheduled fight in and of itself. And another is that the vast majority of these guys know that this whole thing is utter bullshit.
Yeah, well,
But they feel like they have to do it anyway.
yes. Even there's that conversation between Ponyboy and that Soch in the car, where it's like a day or two before the Rumble. Everyone knows there's no fighting before the Rumble. And they start talking in the car, and they're actually getting, that's one of my favorite scenes actually,
Mm-hmm.
is they're getting along. And I think this guy kind of respects Ponyboy to a degree. And he talked about, like, whether you guys win or lose, you're still on the bottom. You're still greaser. We're a higher class than you. He realized the stupidity of it as well, and so did Ponyboy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like this idea of honor, that if you don't show up to this fight, you're a coward. You turned your back on this community. You turned your back on this greaser family. But then you see other greasers that you don't see in the other film, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, it's kind of like
Rest
all
of the
these
movie.
gangs
Yeah.
have got together, which I would guess they fought each other in the past. Like, sometimes you need a common enemy not to fight each other.
Yeah.
But it's like, again, I really don't think the socias would have anything to do with them. There'd be minor scraps occasionally, but like they'd be like, because all those guys would really be trying to do is get laid at that age in those cars. Like,
Yeah.
you would not
Yeah.
be going to mess around fighting greasers. You'd be trying to get some pussy, basically.
Unless they, again, to your point about honor, like, oh, if they threaten me, we have to.
Well, okay.
That whole honor.
That's a
bit,
good point,
yeah.
because again, this is another thing that confused me with this Rumble. And there was a there's a scene in this movie that made me laugh out loud how stupid and ridiculous it was. It's when they're visiting Dallas in the hospital. And this is after Johnny dies, or maybe right before he died. Johnny's not doing well. Johnny's either dead or presumed going to die soon. And he's like, "You gotta get even with these greasers or with these socias. Let's do it for Johnny."
Yeah.
And when he said, "Well, let's do it for Johnny," like that, I laughed out loud. I'm like, that is what the kids would call cringe today.
Yeah,
But I'm like,
indeed.
you killed one of their people. Granted, their people probably started it, but still, like,
Yeah.
one of their guys is dead.
Yeah, that's a really good
And
point. This isn't just like a fight.
I guess that's what precipitated the rumble, is that this murder happened, and these
Yeah.
socias
Well,
they want to get back at these greasers, which is not how you do it. You'd probably kill one of their guys, even though they probably wouldn't have the balls to do that. But you'd probably find a couple strays like they were originally trying to do and tune them up. But you see, that's I guess why they did the rumble, is because of the murder in the first place. But still, like, honestly, I don't think the socias really is any worse than the greasers. Like, that's kind of what I got out of this movie. Like, when I watched it as a teenager, the greasers were the bad guy, or the good guys, and the socias were these rich pricks who were assholes. And now I see it, and I'm like, they're really just two sides of the same coin. One just has more money than the other, but they're like, it's ego, it's people with too much time in their hands, it's testosterone and aggression.
to that point, the brawl, the actual fighting is like all out. They're like caveman style.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so they have Cherry, I think is her name, something like that.
Yeah, she's like the
She's
go-between.
the so-called spy in the movie.
Yeah.
And of course, the Rumble there's so many rules to this thing. Like, you can't fight a certain time before the Rumble. The people were agreeing not to bring weapons there. So there's going to be a straight up fist fight, and everyone obeys the rules, which I don't think would happen. I think basically
agree.
both sides do have incentive.
But I liked that to the honor point,
Yeah.
like they had honor enough to
I
obey the
feel
rules,
like there would be stuff in the cars, just in case. If the greaser
Yeah,
shows up
yeah.
with knives, you have your baseball bats or whatever in the car. And I think the greasers that have knives
Yep.
in their pockets, but maybe it's like, okay, well, if these guys don't bring stuff, I'm not going to use the knife. Something like that. But I think there's an incentive for both to cheat. Or like, if things were
There
going
is.
bad, I could see what happened. Say maybe the socias, as they lose the Rumble, go to their cars and they pop the trunk and get the bats out and be like, okay, now you guys are going to pay.
That is probably more realistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so spoiler alert, the greasers win, so quote unquote win the Rumble, and the socias retreat. But then I don't know, but then Dallas and Ponyboy, they're like all jazzed to go tell Johnny in the hospital.
Oh, yes. So Johnny
about
hadn't died
their-
yet. You're right.
Yeah, but he does die. Like, they go to tell him about their winning the Rumble, and
Yeah. As I saw them win the Rumble too, they were so happy and cheering. And it's in the rain. Of course, the rain starts immediately as the fight starts, which I found odd. Like, they wanted to have a scene in the rain.
it's for the movie, Kyle. We have the music, the tense music, the lightning,
They don't have
rain.
their talking confrontation in the rain. But as soon as it's time to
Yeah.
fight, it's like all of a sudden the rain comes down.
Yeah.
But they're cheering for that,
course.
and it's just like the futility. Like, what are you cheering about? Like, I understand that you won. I understand you'd be happy, but it's just like, I really kind of look down on them. And I would look down on the socias too if they won and were cheering. I don't want to, favor one group over the
They
other.
are children. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, they are acting as 16-year-old boys that have had to drop out of high school and have no home. Like, they're kind of like, this is all they have. They don't really have anything positive in their life. So this is kind of a big deal for them. They won. And
You're right. Because
as an adult, I felt for Derry, because Derry doesn't want any part of this. He's friggin' 20. He doesn't need to be doing this. Like, one of the dudes was like his old football
and if
buddy.
you get caught, you're doing real jail time. Under 14 or whatever.
But he just...
Yeah, I have noticed too, kind of growing up around poor people, being someone who is poor, they do get caught up in a lot of petty things. I'm not saying rich people don't. Maybe it's different petty things. But it's like, with people like that, respect is like if they do anything to disrespect someone, maybe who feels downtrodden originally, it's like, that's a big thing. And they kind of seem more prone to drama, and you see people in prison who are overwhelmingly from the underclass too. And it's always like drama about some stupid bullshit like that. And so it does kind of fit into this movie as well. It is interesting that a 15-year-old had that insight, or a 16-year-old, or whoever wrote, the person who wrote this book.
Yeah, she started it when she was 15. Yeah. Really interesting. The ending line, Johnny wrote a letter to Ponyboy And Ponyboy doesn't see it until after Johnny dies. And Johnny says, "Stay gold, Ponyboy." And then he dies. And then Dallas dies, suicide by cop.
Yeah.
Or no. And so it's like, there's not really a good ending. Like, we're shown all this really shitty stuff. But then the letter that Johnny writes shows that he somehow, through all of that, still had a positive outlook on the world.
You feel optimism, at least I felt optimism and hope for Ponyboy going forward.
Yes,
And that,
yeah.
to me, I actually really liked the ending of the movie. I don't like cheesy happy ending to films. Or like, for example, talk about the Rocky film. I like that he lost the fight at the end in the first Rocky movie.
Yeah.
But he had his victory in the distance, and he has Adrian, right? And similarly here, you see it ends tragically, where you have a guy die for a stupid reason. He basically had a mental breakdown, and you have another guy die from those burns, but then he was able to send a message through that letter and have a positive impact, and you leave the movie feeling hope for Ponyboy, and I really like that character anyway. So I also kind of want him.
Yeah.
I want him to do better. I don't know. As a dad now, like my daughter's 10, right? She's only 4 years younger than this Ponyboy character. I view kids differently and teenagers differently than before, and it's like kids suffering or things like that. I'm not saying it can't pull. It's like, I know you don't have kids. I'm not saying it wouldn't pull at your heartstrings. Maybe it always would, and maybe I was insensitive before to it. But having that experience of having kids has helped me be more sensitive towards that. And
I can totally see that.
It's kind of like having animals helps you be more sensitive with animals too, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to be Ponyboy's dad, and want to give him a hug and be there for him, and I kind of have that hope for him, or I kind of think, I'm proud of you, that you're kind of learning from this, and,
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. It did end well. So there was a scene where there's a little girl who asks for a dime. You know what I'm talking about? That is Sophia Coppola.
Oh, okay.
Francis's daughter. So another family tie-in. Yet another one is that Nicolas Cage auditioned for both Derry and Dallas, but his uncle, Francis Ford, turned him down, suggesting that he try out for the smaller role of Two-Bit, but Cage was fed up and walked away from the project.
He would have made a decent
I am
Two-Bit,
not
to be honest.
He probably, he probably would have, yes, but I'm not a Nick Cage fan.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
but
he's the nephew of our Adrian, and
his Southern accent's not too bad either. Like, he's played Southern characters before. I think he kind of would.
Oh, really?
Well, he was a Southern guy in Con Air.
Yeah, but I thought that was really bad.
His Southern accent was okay.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not from what would I know? North of the border.
I'm not from the South either, so I don't know. And they're so varied. But I will say, just generally speaking, I am fascinated by regional dialects and accents.
Oh, same.
Just
I love trying to do
I
them.
find it really...
I'm not super successful. But
I can't.
You could do it better than Ryan.
But like, even within this... I don't know about that. But even within the American South, there's like a vast difference between Alabama and Texas, for example.
Yeah,
I mean? Yeah. Tom Cruise, who played Steve Randall, he actually auditioned for the roles of literally almost all of them. Soda Pop, Daryl, Randy, and Dally before being cast as Steve, which is a smaller role. And then for the role of Dallas, Dennis Quaid turned it down. And Judd Nelson was considered.
Who's that?
Well, you have to watch St. Elmo's Fire, because he's in that. He's part of the Brat Pack.
Oh, okay.
Did you watch? Please tell me you've seen The Breakfast Club, Kyle. John
Oh,
Bender.
okay, yeah.
That's Judd Nelson.
He was in a show later on, too. He's like a...
Yeah.
What show was it?
A 90s show?
Not the...
Suddenly Susan, I want to say.
He was... he had his own office.
Wasn't it with... I feel like it was Suddenly
It could be
Susan
Suddenly
with
Susan.
Shields?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's it. Somebody correct me if I'm not thinking of the right thing. But yeah, I don't know. He hasn't really done anything lately, but I could see him as Dallas.
Yeah. Oh, for
because he's got that
yeah,
edginess.
yeah, he would have been fine. I actually, like I said, did not like Dallas, and I didn't really like the way he was played either. I thought it was way too
okay.
over the top. Like I just couldn't.
I can see that.
That do
Yeah,
it
I
for
totally can
Johnny.
see that.
That's the thing that like killed it for me.
Yeah, I didn't really care for that either. It was cringy. Daryl. So our Patrick. Mickey Rourke auditioned. No
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. And then several people were considered for Pony Boy. Val Kilmer turned it down. He had a theatrical commitment. Timothy Hutton was also considered, as was Anthony Michael Hall, who also in The Breakfast
Yeah.
Club and Weird Science. Like he's the
Yeah,
younger.
yeah.
That would have, I could see him being Pony Boy.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I just like
feel
Pony
Anthony
Boy.
Michael
He's my
Hall could be
favorite in this movie. Like
okay.
I'd
Yeah, you
have
wanna
a hard time. You know what I mean? If it's your favorite character, you couldn't think of swapping them out. Or like Dallas's character, I'm like, you could
that's how
swap
I
them
am
with
with-
whoever. Like, I don't.
Yeah, whoever, I don't care. That's how I am with Derry. I'm like, it has to be Patrick Swayze. Johnny, Scott Baio was considered. Maybe. I think he's maybe a little, I don't know. Yeah. And then Cherry, who was played by the stunning Diane Lane. Sarah Jessica Parker turned it down. And we talked about her. She was in Square Pegs.
Sarah Jessica Parker is beautiful, but yeah.
In a very different way, though.
She was like, I was a little taken aback by how. 'Cause
Yeah,
sometimes
I think-
if women look kind of too dated, for me, they're not as
Mhm.
attractive. Like for instance, like women in like portrayed like 1940s, like the way their hair was and stuff like that during the war.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like my grandma or something like that. So even though they're like way younger, I'm just like, nah. Or really
Yeah.
poofy 80s hair or something like that. It bothers me, but man, she looked really good.
Just the classically
Yeah.
beautiful, and she's very waspy
Oh, yeah.
looking. And Sarah Jessica Parker is not.
No.
She has a very different look to her. Brooke Shields, who we just talked about, she also turned down the role of Cherry. I could actually see her being
Same.
Cherry.
See?
Now, Heather Langenkamp, you wouldn't know the name, but did you ever watch the movie or the TV show Just the 10 of Us?
No, I didn't.
It was a spinoff of Growing Pains.
No.
Oh, I loved it. She played Marie. So for those of you who watched Just the 10 of Us, she played Marie in that. And she was also Nancy in A Nightmare on Elm Street. But she actually had a cameo. So she tried out for the part of Cherry. Didn't get it. But there was a scene that was cut from the movie where she was in it as a girl at the drive-in.
Oh, okay.
Like another girl at the drive-in. Yeah. Oh, those were some of the ones. There's like a ton of trivia, but those are the ones I thought you might find interesting.
No, there's some good little
And
tidbits
well,
there.
I would love to spend more time with these guys, this cast of characters, this group of guys. Totally my jam. We must now return to the present day reality. Until next time, Kyle, it's always a pleasure to podcast with you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you so much for joining me.
I thought there was some
Do you have any-
you know what we do in the other podcast? You're like, Kyle, I'm like,
No.
what am I doing?
You're like, oh shit, did I miss that? No. I was just going to ask you if you had any final thoughts on The Outsiders or any plugs.
Okay, well, final thoughts are, it is a classic movie. I really enjoyed watching it. It brought me back to my past because I can remember how I thought about it, which is what I liked so much about it. Like, it helped me connect a past version of myself. If you watch something you haven't seen in so long, if that movie came out today and I'd never seen it before, I probably wouldn't be the hugest fan of it.
Same.
But it's nostalgic. It has a piece of my heart that way. And I think that it makes you want to read the book. You know, because
does.
I think it's probably one of those situations where the book actually is a lot better. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to read the book now. I'm going to get it from the library or whatever. That'll be my next project. But it was an enjoyable hour and a half of my time that I'm glad I.
Agreed. Well, listeners, if you have questions, comments, I would love to hear them on YouTube. Facebook page, or you can always email me at RetromadePodcast@gmail.com. Please don't forget to follow the show in your podcast app and also on the YouTube channel.
Do you have a Patreon or anything like that?
I do not, but I have a tipping function.
Okay, listeners, tip Katie. She works hard for this.
Yeah.
Podcasting's not free. This equipment isn't free. I can tell you she's renting a better setup than other podcasts have been on that I won't mention. So, she's doing this for your listening pleasure. She'll send a couple bucks Katie's way. And no, I was not paid to say that.
Oh, no word. And that's so nice of you. If anybody does want to support the show by offering a tip, there's a link in the show notes as well as on the website. That's also in the show notes. So, yeah. But until next time, be kind, rewind.